What's going on? I hope you are having an amazing day. Welcome to episode 1 of hopefully many. This is something new that I'm trying, and this is going to be a very conversational, no B-roll, just sit down and have a conversation. This is where I'm going to talk about things I've learned with having a video production business, a YouTube channel. I want to have guests on, friends on, fellow creatives, maybe even other YouTubers, and just to discuss, the creator economy and things we've learned. Basically, all just to try to give you an opportunity to just sit in on some conversations, maybe learn something that you didn't know. And this is something that I wish maybe I had when I was getting into the business over 10 years ago now, was just these kind of conversations, which basically I guess is a podcast. But these are not going to be super flashy. They're going to be pretty chill, just me talking to you and having kind of a one-on-one conversation. I got my cup of coffee right here, so we are all set. It is blueberry coffee. If you've watched this channel at all, you know that I'm a big blueberry coffee fan. It's not from Dunkin'. I do love Dunkin's blueberry coffee. This is just from Walmart, so any blueberry coffee is okay though. All right, so today is 10 things that I have learned with basically having a video production business and trying to get things off the ground over the last 10 years. So I started in 2014 is kind of when I took that leap, and it's been a long process getting to where I am now. But I wanted to just talk about 10 things that I've learned that I hope can help you if you're trying to start a video production business or a YouTube channel. But this would be more from a video business side of things. So number one is don't wait for people to hire you. Don't sit around and wait. And all I can say to that is when I started trying to get content out there and make stuff, I didn't have clients. You don't just wake up one day and have all these clients knocking at your door. But what you can do is, if you have a camera, and really with your phone now these days, it's crazy. Like, I sound like such an old person. When I started in 2014, I had the iPhone 5 SE or whatever it was. I mean, it's come so far. So if you have an iPhone, you could almost just get started with that. But just pick up your camera and start making content. Start learning the art of storytelling and framing your shots, finding different angles and learning your lighting, and that just comes with reps. Just start asking people what they think you're good at and what their opinion is of content you start to make. Family can be the biggest supporter, but you're going to probably have to ask them to also be honest with you. Like, hey, what do I need to actually do different? My guess is your parents will be really positive and your siblings will give you maybe some really honest feedback. But either way, start making content, post it out there. People will start to see that and start to recognize that you are serious about that. That's what happened for me. I started making content, YouTube videos with friends and my brother, and posting it on YouTube. Very rudimentary stuff, and I've actually left some of those public, so you could actually go back like 10 plus years ago and you could still see some of those videos. But some people started noticing that, and somebody reached out. It was the parents of one of my friends, and they were like, hey, we see you're editing these videos. Could you edit together some of the footage for our chiropractor business? And that was my first job. I can't remember. I think it was like 70 or 80 bucks. I don't even know if it was $100. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, someone is paying me to edit together some videos. That blew my brain, but it helped me realize that just because I was posting stuff online to YouTube, sharing it on Facebook, that people were seeing that and they were taking note of it. So create your own momentum, okay? People are not going to come knocking to you. Get out there and start making content. The next level up for that, number 2, is create your own spec work. So not only could you just make fun videos just to get used to it. Sorry if I keep hitting the mic with my mouth or whatever. I'm like getting into it and I keep moving forward. Yeah. So make your own spec work. What this looks like is kind of think about a style of video that you like. Maybe it's a commercial kind of video for a product or an outdoor product. And then make your own version of that. Or just, if you have a pocket knife, say, I'm going to make a really cool pocket knife commercial. It's a fake commercial. You're not even doing it to get the attention of that brand, but you're just saying, I'm going to make something from this, and I'm going to push myself to make something really cool and creative. And you'll be surprised how much you'll learn just through that process. That's what I did early on. I did a couple videos where I think the first one may have been like a sweet tea commercial, and I wasn't even really trying to get the attention of any sweet tea brand. I just wanted to make something that's centralized around a product. And so I made that. I made another one that was kind of themed around like American freedom and trucks and, you know, that nitty gritty kind of outdoor feel. And I think I called it Republic. That video is on my channel as well. And I made it with one of my buddies, Philip Case, his truck. And we just went out and shot a bunch of cool content. And then I kind of crafted a voiceover for it, hired the voiceover out on Fiverr. And I think this was already back in 2017 or 18 probably. But it was a really, really fun project. And I'm still actually really happy with how a lot of those shots turned out. I was still learning a lot about lighting and framing and how to craft a story. But that doing some of those kinds of commercials really helped me kind of establish, okay, I can do something of quality. I can start to craft something like this. With my same buddy, Philip Case, we made a video around his Mustang, kind of like a fake Mustang, Ford Mustang commercial. And I ended up using both of those spec pieces for clients. If they needed to see my work, I would send them those videos that I had made on my own initiative, upload it to my YouTube channel. And some of those videos actually generated me some work because people saw what I could do. And it was just because I had the idea and went out and made it happen. So create your own spec work, put yourself out there, challenge yourself to make something really creative around a product or a theme. And I guarantee you, you will likely get some work from that, especially if you keep doing it and keep getting better with it. All right, number 3, always be looking for ways to connect with businesses. By this point in your business, hopefully you are looking at getting business cards, maybe creating a website. All of those things are groundwork for setting the foundation for your business. You want to be careful about putting the cart before the horse in some of these areas. You definitely want to get, like, don't worry about like figuring out your business name or title before you create content. Just start creating content. But once you start getting serious about that, you do want to get a website, an email, and some of these things that can at least lay the foundation for people to follow up with you or to see your work. So what I did early was, I didn't even have a website for the longest time, but I just had my number and my email, and I created a business card that I could hand out to people. Of course, once I got a website and kind of updated my business email, then I started updating those business cards. But I would hand those out to wedding venue locations, to wedding managers and coordinators, and I don't know, wedding manager, that's not a wedding coordinator. People who are going to be in charge of events. I would try to leave those cards with people just to get my name out there. Be like, hey, this is what I do. If you want to hire me, please, reach out to me. These are the packages I offer. I think you would be surprised how many people just are not hiring you or don't know where to start. But if you put yourself in front of them, you're cutting out the work that they would have to do to find somebody. So you're just saying, hey, here I am. This is what I do. Here's my work. Here's my website. Let's jump on a call sometime. Let's chat and see what we can figure out. And a lot of times people are very interested in that. Whether they actually follow up with you or not, they may or may not. But the fact that you're putting yourself out there is a good sign. A lot of this, in my opinion, is where point number 2 is important, which is creating spec work, okay? Because if you have videos that you can show people when you start handing out your business cards, you're just setting yourself up for that much more success. Number 4, be patient. Okay, that may be a bit of a cliche point and maybe it's obvious, but people expect and want things to just happen just like that. And when they've put in some effort, they've created business cards, create a website, an email, they've done this sort of foundational work, and then nothing happens, or they aren't getting the clients as fast as they wish they could, people just quit and they just go get a different job in a totally different career, or they maybe go work for another production office or agency, and that's okay too. Nothing wrong with that. But I just sometimes hate seeing creatives, people who are truly talented, drop out of the game because they just are not patient and are not willing to wait it out and keep trying to put themselves in front of people. And when that doesn't happen or they don't get the results they want, they quit. It is not a get rich quick. It is not a immediate success. There are certainly ways and strategies you can use that definitely work better than others. But regardless of all of that, you need to be patient. So go into this process knowing that it is a long term, it is a big picture goal, and not something that you can just snap your finger and get the results that you want to have. Number 5, find yourself a mentor, either in real life or on YouTube. As weird as that is kind of true these days. But when you're getting into something like this, find somebody that is doing the same thing. Maybe they're at your level, so you can kind of go through the ups and downs together. Or even better, finding a mentor who has already made it. They're already 10 more miles down the road than you, and they can look back and kind of guide you, help you, and encourage you. And I had people along the way for me that have been mentors to me and been a huge part of keeping me encouraged and showing me, kind of shedding some light on the pathway for what you should do next. And maybe this is what you should do instead of this. And so finding a mentor, finding somebody on YouTube, and by YouTube, I'm saying like certainly, do your research and scour YouTube, find all of the different people that are talking about what you're trying to learn. But something I think is beneficial too is when you find a YouTube channel from somebody who is doing a lot of content, creating a lot of content, but they're doing the same thing you're doing. And so you can kind of learn a lot of information from one person. Sorry, I just bumped the mic. I'm just getting too excited, too amped up about this. I just excited to share this content with you guys. But finding somebody who has shared a lot of content on one channel, that kind of helps keep it from being maybe too sporadic or too random. It can be overwhelming sometimes when you're trying to find information from like 10 different YouTubers and you're trying to consolidate it in your mind. But if you find a YouTuber who's got a lot of content, a lot to offer, I would say definitely digest and binge a lot of that one channel's content, because you're going to learn a lot under their sort of way of thinking. And so that's just, I don't know. That's not like a hardened way to go with that. You can, collect information from as many channels as you want. That's just something that I think is something to keep in mind. Where are we at? 5. Point number 6. Be careful of things that seem too good to be true. Be careful of things that seem too good to be true. So by this is a lesson I learned the hard way. I don't know. It was probably 7 or 8 years ago when I still lived in Florida. I had a vendor reach out to me through Instagram. And real person, it wasn't a scam. It wasn't anything like from China or Nigeria or whatever. It was a real place, real thing. And it was a guy who was in charge of sort of collecting vendors and creatives and filmmakers, more under the wedding filmmaking, fashion industry, things like that, I think, if I remember correctly. And he reached out and he was basically like, hey, you do great work. I like what you offer on your Instagram page, and you have quality stuff. I would love to see if you're interested in joining my vendor list. And once you join, then, I put your name in front of agencies, and you could get hired or, be a part of projects for, fashion shoots or wedding venue, shoots. A lot of times it would be like if a magazine needed a mock wedding photo or something like that, then they would bring in, people like me under this agency to shoot these mock weddings and stuff, more for magazines and fashion stuff. A lot of that in like Florida, New York City, maybe LA a little bit. And it sounded amazing. I was like, whoa, this is my big break. This is what I've been looking for and waiting for and working towards all these years, has been for a vendor to find me like this. And, it's going to bring in the jobs and the income and opportunities, all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, okay, I was like, yeah, I think this seems like a really, really cool opportunity. How do I join? He's like, okay, so just fill out this form here. It will cost you $700, I think is what it was, to join. This is like your vendor fee. You have to pay $700 to join my vendor fee. And this is basically just covering the cost of us working to put your name out there and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay. I don't really like the sound of that, but I mean, hey, if it's going to bring in the jobs and it's going to bring in the opportunities, maybe this is the route I should go with it. And I talked to a couple people close to me, and Natasha, we weren't even married yet. My wife, I think we were just dating then. She didn't really like the sound of it. She seemed to she felt like it was a little bit sketchy. And I was like, maybe, I don't know, I don't know what to do. So I ended up going for it, and I paid him 2 different payments of like $350. And he offered me a couple opportunities, but they were not paid. They were like, he was like, hey, we got this opportunity in New York City for like 3 days. It's not paid, but if you want to be a part of this, you can. I think I would even have to cover my own cost to get there, and it wasn't even a paid shoot. And I was like, but I paid you $700. Like, you ought to be giving me like some paid shoots. And he was like, I know there will be some eventually, but this is just kind of how it works to kind of get you in the door with some of these agencies. And very, very frustrating lesson that I learned. I totally just dished out $700 for this vendor. And gotta watch out for those wolf in sheep's clothing. And I don't even know what happened. We just kind of parted ways. I just kept declining everything he sent me, so he stopped reaching out to me. And I don't know how many other creatives he's done that to, but really watch out for that kind of stuff. If you're having to pay money to be a part of something, I would definitely steer clear of that, because there are way more other opportunities down the road if you just keep putting in the effort. So my lesson learned from that was definitely, if it's too good to be true, and especially in this kind of scenario, it probably very much is. And if you have that feeling like, oh, if I pass up this opportunity, there's never going to be any other opportunities, I'm going to miss the big opportunity. That is just not true. Okay. That is not true. You keep working, you keep putting yourself out there. Other opportunities will come along the way that are honest, good paying, good relationships with clients. It's just you'll know when it's the right thing and it feels good. So just watch out for those kinds of things. I don't want you to have to go through what I did to learn that lesson. So steer clear of that kind of stuff. All right, number 7, never stop educating yourself. There is so much you can be learning. There are so many opportunities. There's literally everything at your fingertips with YouTube and courses, things online that you can educate yourself. And something I kind of started to adopt, I guess, a mindset probably 6 or 8 years ago, was using time, maybe instead of scrolling Facebook or Instagram, to watch videos, educate myself. If there's an area where I feel like I'm a little weak in or lacking in some knowledge with my business or YouTube, I am just trying to find out anything I can learn. It doesn't mean I'm not like watching streaming stuff on Hulu or scrolling Instagram Reels. I definitely do that. I'm guilty of that, but I do try to prioritize time. If I'm sitting down for a few minutes, try to educate myself, learn something, kind of put some value into my mind. So never stop educating yourself. You never really are going to stop learning, and you would be surprised when you start utilizing your time for education and learning tips and tricks instead of mindless entertainment. You'll actually start to benefit from that. All right, so number 8, as your business starts to grow, take the business side seriously. This is something I wish I had started doing even sooner than I did, but really start to understand that as a creative, you are going to have to learn how to run a business. You're going to have to learn taxes and cash flow in, cash flow out, your expenses, operating expenses. So start looking into, different softwares that can help run your business. One of the ones that I use is Waves. I think it's called the Wave app. I run all my invoices through that. I could do payroll eventually if I needed to. I can run taxes through that. You can log receipts. It's basically like QuickBooks, but I like the Wave app more. It's just, I like how it's laid out. I like how it looks. The interface is way less confusing to me. It's probably just a personality thing, but I use Wave app. So find softwares like that that will help really give you a good structure for the business side of your business. Don't take that for granted, because you don't want to get in trouble with the IRS. You don't want to get sunk into like planet Earth, like all the way to the center of the earth with taxes. That's what it feels like sometimes with the IRS, not gonna lie. But learn how to manage all of those different things, and you'll be very, very glad you did. So start out early, set yourself up for success with learning how to operate a business. Watch videos on how entrepreneurs and creatives should run a business. I'm not a business or CPA expert or anything by any kind of means, but I've had to learn a lot in just the last 3 or 4 years on how to manage that. So don't take that for granted. Learn how to operate a business, because if you want to keep this going, you're going to have to do that. It's just part of the game with this. All right, number 9, don't feel like you always have to upgrade to the newest gear every year. This is a trap that a lot of people can fall into. I'm totally guilty of that. But every year there is just the newest and the best, and it just gets better every year. And if it makes sense to upgrade, sure, do it. That's fine. But at the same time, watch out for that trap of feeling like you have to upgrade to the newest Insta360 camera or the newest Canon or Sony or GoPro, whatever it is, the lights, there's so many things you can upgrade. Once you get those fundamental pieces of gear, you really don't necessarily have to upgrade. Once you have a good 4K camera, a couple good lights, a couple mics that work well, you really have your bases covered. After that, it's how crucial is it for you to upgrade. And again, there's nothing wrong with kind of trying to keep up to date, but a lot of times you would be surprised the stuff you can create with old gear. As long as it does the trick and it works well for you and it doesn't hinder your creative workflow, then probably you don't actually have to upgrade. Not telling you don't have to, but just be careful of falling into that trap. I would say instead of falling into the trap of trying to find the latest gear, start learning storytelling. Start learning how to craft a video that's going to keep people engaged and give retention to your video. And a lot of that is not about the gear. It is about how to tell a story. So those are really big things. So just, watch out for the whole new gear thing. It's a trap we all face. I very, very many times catch myself just like going on to DJI or going on to B&H or Insta360 and just looking at their cameras and be like, oh man, that'd be really, really nice. Like maybe I really do need this camera. And then I think about it for a little bit and then I realize I probably don't actually need that camera. So watch out for that. Just don't fall into that hole. Number 10, the final point, set big goals and start taking those steps now. It's easy to look at all these big things you want to achieve, a big YouTube channel, a big video production business, and you plan, and then you get paralysis and you don't actually follow through. So the way I like to think about it is if you want to have this really big goal, you have 1 year, say, to make it happen, okay? It's overwhelming when you look at all the stuff you have to do in a year's time to get to the point you want to go. But you can't look at it like that. You got to look at, okay, in the first 6 months of that year, this is where we want to be. In 3 months, this is where we want to be. So if I want to be at this point in 3 months, what do I need to do every week? And then what do I need to do every day? When you start breaking it down into every day, I'm just going to go a little bit further, 1% more, 1% more. You're eventually going to look back in 3 months and 6 months, and then ultimately in a year and see, oh my goodness, we actually made those goals happen. And it's because you started now, you started today, you started making it happen. So whether that's creating a YouTube video, and it means that, today we're gonna plan the YouTube content, or we're gonna lay out what do we need to do to reach out to some businesses. Okay, we did that today. Tomorrow we're gonna go execute. We're gonna go start reaching out to those businesses. We're gonna create the YouTube content. And then on day 3 or week 2, we're going to start editing through what we shot for the YouTube content. So you have to break it down into those bite-sized portions, but you don't eat a whole meal by just pushing the entire plate of food into your mouth. You take bites. That's what you have to do with a YouTube channel and with building a video production business, is take it one step at a time, but you need to start today. When you keep pushing that off, you keep pushing off the success and the goals that you really want to see happen. So stay encouraged, guys. Those were 10 things that I've learned, and I'm still learning. I don't pretend that I have all this figured out, but I have learned things in the last 11 years of doing this, and I want to share those with you. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys. Thanks for taking, I don't know how long this was, like 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. I'm sorry, this was a long video, but I wanted to just do a little sit down, have some coffee together. I didn't even take a sip of coffee. Got my blueberry coffee in. Just wanted to sit down with you and talk about stuff I've learned. I want to hear in the comments, what are some tips you guys have that you've learned, or questions you have to me about anything that I've talked about today. Would love to definitely hear some feedback for you. If you guys enjoyed this, stick around. I'm going to do more of these in the future, more episodes in the future of this kind of style, I guess. And hopefully you can just maybe do some work while you listen to me ramble on. Thanks for jumping on this video, guys. I appreciate it. Subscribe for more content just like this, and I will see you in the next one.